not be able to be America. So we must stop deleting blackness from everything that happens in America, because there is nothing that is existing in America without black bodies, black hands, black talent, black energy. So the prophetic in America has been keen and precise for years in the black community. And it's time now for us to recognize who in our community we all look to as the master in the prophetic. And that is E.Bernard Jordan, who is a black man. And that is extremely important. No more deleting blackness in America. America's black prophet of God is E.Bernard Jordan.
A mighty wind shall blow in the 21st century that will uproot many areas. I saw the eternal calendar of time and saw the year 2005. I will cause Michigan to become a heralding trumpet of my changes, saith the Lord. In this place I will touch their water supply, and they will know that I am God. You will see hate groups within the nation that will become very vocal, and they will trumpet their opinions of the government and despise the decisions being made. It will be the day of a great crossover. I will change the money, and a new currency will surface in the marketplace. Watch the coins. Strange diseases came upon the shores of America, and entire geographical areas were faced with great concerns. I saw diseases and plagues of every kind. Many could be identified, but even those picked up new strains and had to be redefined before they hit the shores of men's lives. Children will start to take vaccinations that are quite different from the vaccinations in the 60s and 80s. I will remove the classroom setting out of the building as you now know them. This will be the time that you will see more people working out of their homes. It will be the season that you will see children sign in and take courses over computer terminals and just appear at certain centers of learning for scoring and testing, saith the Lord.
The master prophet is anointed and chosen. I'd give both words. The Bible says many are called, few are chosen. He is chosen. He's had, in the decades that I've been close enough to him to know what he's doing, he's had many offers to do other things he could have done. And he cannot do anything else. He keeps getting pulled back into that. He could pastor a mega church. He could be in entertainment. He could just do private consultations for heads of states. But he keeps getting pulled back into this prophetic ministry. And as he talks for blacks and the oppressed, he doesn't have to do that. He could leave that alone and be embraced by the so-called mainstream, but he's connected his own stream. That's why I know he's chosen. He cannot run away from the anointing on him.
My name is Larry D. Reed, and I'm the host of Larry Reed Live, your most favorite digital entertainment news and talk show that's out here on these social media streets. And what I do is I provide commentary about what is happening in our world, particularly the black community and the black church. Bishop Jordan said to me, after 20 years of pastoring in the box, I went into entertainment. And I said, I'll just use my platform like a pulpit and I'll pastor people this way. He said to me, he said, no. He said, you will go back to pastoring. And I looked at him and I said, hell no, that's what you think. But then when I went to God about it, I understood that I don't have to pastor the way I used to pastor. I can be who I am, think the way that I think, do what I do, and there is a people that will follow me as a result. And as a result, I went right back into being somebody's darn pastor.
In 1993, David Dinkins, first black mayor of New York, was running for re-election. And he had Reverend Jesse Jackson and I touring churches to campaign for his re-election. And we ended up late one Sunday evening, about a week or two before the election, going by Pilgrim Cathedral in Brooklyn. And Bishop Brown, Roy Brown, who was bishop then, who I'd known since Pilgrim Baptist, he welcomed us, brought us out, place was packed. And Mayor Dinkins made his speech appealing for people to vote for his re-election. Then Reverend Jackson spoke, and then I spoke. And this is 93. Now, you must remember 93 was right around the time I had finished the Tawana Brawley case, which many people said was a fraud. I was standing up for the Central Park Five, who were in jail, and everybody thought they were guilty. This is years before they were vindicated. So I'm at the height of a controversy. I just beat a tax case. So, but because Bishop Brown knew me as a little boy, no, he didn't care about that. He put all that up because I had run for the U.S. Senate the year before, and 2/3 of blacks statewide had voted for me. Mayor Dinkins felt it was not a political risk to have me work black churches with him and Jesse, and I was Jesse's youth director when I was 13. So I got up and I said what I had to say. And we're getting ready to go. And Bishop Brown said, just a minute, I want the prophet to address y'all. And Bishop Jordan got up and came and put his hands up. And I remember Dinkins kind of looked, because Dinkins did not come out of that background. Jesse looked at me, who did come out of the Baptist church and out of the South. And I said, yeah, he's supposed to be a real prophet.
You see, prophecy is ministry on another level. It's like musicians. The reason why songwriters are songwriters is because they hear something other people don't hear. The reason why singers are great singers is because they hear something other people don't hear. And the reason why prophets are so valuable is because they hear something other people don't hear.
Because God says he brought y'all here today, and this seed is releasing a promise. Alvin and Roberta Freeman came to the church during the time when we were sending all the members home. These are people that were givers. And every time they gave, there was a word that was given to them around the seed that they had given.
He said, I see a house, and we were in the process of getting the house. He says, we know you're getting a house. It's not that house. He says, I see a house with 3 rooms. And he says, what's going on with you and children?
What's going on? I'm getting to number 3, and I want to call them children. What's happening with children in your lives? Give them the mic. We should find out what's going on here.
We've been married for 3 years, and we've wanted to have children, and it just hasn't happened for us yet.
All right. Well, today is your day. During that time, we found out it was difficult to conceive. But the word of prophecy through the company of prophets and myself, we kept seeing children where medical science was seeing nothing. Because God says he brought y'all here today, and this seed is releasing a promise that out of these 3 years of marriage, whatever the situation has been, that block is going to be removed. Because I saw in your home, I saw 3 bedrooms, but they were children bedrooms. They were bedrooms for the children. And God is going to grant y'all children.
So in my feeble mind, it's like, oh, I'll get pregnant 3 times, And years went by, actually, and no pregnancy, no pregnancy, no pregnancy.
And however it manifests, just be open that it's the moving of God that is working in your lives, because it's been a prayer and it's a dream that's being answered, saith the Spirit of the living God. Amen. Thank you, Jesus.
So thinking about that prophecy, he said, don't think of it the way that be open to other ways. So we went through IVF, and it was 3 failures, and it was our 4th and final try. And we said, well, this is it. Let's go for it. And 4th and final try, they put 2 eggs back. So we absolutely knew that it's going to be twins. So it was probably about our 2nd sonogram. We knew it was twins, 2 heartbeats. 2nd sonogram, the doctor says, that's interesting.
Now I get nervous. She says, that's interesting. And I said, what, doc, what? She said, well, I think you're gonna have 3 instead of 2.
Are you gonna say hi? Yeah. Hey, big boy. What are you gonna say? Say hi, Auntie Tiffany. Hi.
So we ended up being told we were gonna have triplets.
And just like Master Prophet had said that he saw a house with 3 bedrooms and 3 children, we were pregnant with triplets.
I didn't know that they were trying to have children. I like to look at it this way. Each time they gave, they were documenting their respect.
This is my beautiful family. My wife, Dr. Roberta Freeman. My oldest, Amani Jordan. My middle, Alvin Jeffrey. And my youngest but most bodacious, Ava Journey.
Not all prophets are the same. Some prophets, they feel it. Some prophets, they see it. Some prophets, they hear a voice in their ear that they must repeat. Some of us get these symbols, these mind movies in our head that we must then make sense to ourselves and then deliver to you the message that you need to hear.
The prophet started saying that, you know, you're gonna struggle, Mr. Mayor. It's gonna be close. I can't see where it's gonna go. And everybody was wishing he was gonna say he was gonna win. He didn't, and he didn't win. And he said to Jesse that you stay strong, you keep carrying the mantle. But then he looked at me and he said that you are going to see greater things than you would ever thought of. All of these controversies, all of these negatives will turn around. I see you in high places. I see you sitting with the highest people. All of this that you've gone through will be over.
But Reverend Sharpton, at that time, Tawana Brawley situation, a lot of legal situations going on around him, the Lord said he would raise his voice up in the nation.
He said, I see nothing but influence, popularity, sitting in high places, which was outrageous at the time. There was nobody that thought I'd be sitting in high places. People thought that I may get through by the skin of my teeth, and that would be good. We left there that night, and Jesse said, that was quite a prophecy for you. I said, yeah, and he said, we'll see. And I never forgot that night.
The word of the Lord came forth and said that we had to go back to New York City. And we started back meeting at the Dorel Inn on 49th and Lexington. And it was a powerful time. We had people from all over, from all walks of life coming in because they heard, there was a whisper, there was a rumor that there was a prophet in New York City. So if you was a Christian, we even had Muslims come to get the word of the Lord. And what was so powerful, there was no respect of person. If you wanted to hear what the Spirit of God was saying, then there was an opening, there was an entranceway. And during that time, we had Ron. He came in. And when he came in, it was a weeknight. He had this huge family Bible. And I mean, loud with the sneakers on and stuff, sitting there. And Reverend Ron, what was so unique and amazing, he didn't come trying to hide, trying to get over on the prophet. He was there because he wanted to know what thus said the Lord.
I was with the group Run DMC, and I was, like many people, that stay up late night and are going through things and looking at television. And turning the channel, and I saw this he was Prophet Jordan. Then at the end of the show, there was a bunch of dates that he was leaving town. Like, I guess he was a traveling prophet at that time. I called and said, is the prophet ever gonna be there? Because I saw all these dates. They said, no, he's here every Tuesday and Sunday at the Dorel Inn. Distraught as I was, I got my Bible and I went down to the Dorel Inn. The prophet was up doing what he does. There's a nice little audience there.
At that time, there was a lot of other situations that was happening with him, but he wanted to know what God was saying concerning his life.
And like I said, I was in a really bad place, mentally, every way you could think of. And I remember he was preaching, and he stood me up, young man Stan, he prophesied to me. I was blown away by the prophecy. The prophecy hit all the marks and said all the things that I needed to hear at the time and told me of my future. But I remember one of the sermons, I'll always remember this, life is not easy, let everyone stand. And that just kind of blew me away, like, oh, snap. Well, that clears that up. Life's not easy, let everyone stand is how he ended the sermon.
I've seen real prophets and I've seen fortune tellers. And there's a difference. Fortune teller can read your palm or something like that. I've seen people that could really speak truth, but they are rare. Many that came through our church ended up having a moment or either being a fraud. There was something about what the Prophet Jordan said that resonated in me as true. And then as I saw him, I started watching his ministry, started seeing things he would say would come about, read his book, things that a fortune teller couldn't guess. I mean, this man talked about a black president way before Barack Obama went to U.S. Senate.
In this book, in the third volume, the 4 volumes in this one, and in the third volume, written in 1996.
It's on page 66, and it's talking about the first African-American president. In this hour, the day of the Lord will be revealed in a greater measure than that which has been witnessed in centuries gone by. You will see in your day where I shall take a man of color, an African-American, and cause him to win the presidency of the United States. Do not rejoice in this, for he shall be but a puppet dancing on the strings of manipulation, and the African-American community will suffer greatly at the hands of the nation.
The climate, the country, the way things were going, no way was a black man ever going to be president. Yet, the prophet wrote it. Not only did he speak it, let's go back, but he wrote about it. Who dares to put a word like that in a book that many people were going to read around the world? But he did. And so he's off. You know, he really missed it this time, an African-American. But I tell you, we began to see that word come to pass.
However, it was good seeing a whole nigga. Oh, I don't know if I can say that. Although it was very good seeing this black man in this White House. Black man in White House. My God, that was so good to me.
We rejoiced to see a black man in office, but we suffered greatly. Until this day, I don't think that we have really measured the trauma that took place and the racism that continue to be fueled as a result of the price of that gift that was given to us.
Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. A long, long way from home.
So there's certain things you cannot fabricate and you cannot make up and you can't guess at. Some people call themselves prophets and they say things and get lucky. This was not lucky. These were things that were embedded. And when it strikes you personally, when he said to me at the height of my controversy, something that I myself in my fondest dreams would not have seen coming, I wouldn't have said that about me. And I promote myself. So that's when you say, this guy has a different kind of gift.
A matter of fact, when you said that, a little girl just ran into the picture.
That's my daughter, must be.
And I heard her saying, Daddy, something's opening up for you. And that's the word of the Lord.
He would come sometime do my syndicated radio show and he'd prophesy to people on there. And I got him aside. I said, how do you think Obama's going to do? He said, well, it's going to be very hard for our people. It's going to be very difficult. But you will have access to him. And you should be prepared for that. And I said, wait a minute. You know, you got Reverend Jackson in Chicago. You got his own pastor. They've kind of like distanced, but they'll make up. I'm all the way in New York. Why would I be the one? He says, I'm telling you, you will have access to him. And I became the civil rights leader that probably had more access to Obama than anybody. Many times I'd walk in the White House, and according to the right wing, I went 102 times while he was president. Many times I walk in there for events or meetings, and I think about the prophet. I sat up one night that I'll remember. President Obama invited me to a state dinner he had for the president of France. And I'm sitting at the table with the lady over the International Monetary. You know, they sign you the tables. So I'm sitting there with the head of the IMF and another chief aide of the president of France. And all I can think about is the prophet said that there's nobody thought I'd be at a state dinner, all tuxedo down. And Obama looked over at and kind of nodded, and I nodded. But he didn't know what I was nodding. I was nodding about the prophecy. He was nodding about that he told me he would put me wherever he was in places. And I never forgot that. I think that part of when you know that a prophecy is real and a prophet is real is that it's almost like putting a password in your computer, iPad. It'll always light up. Something will hit your head and bring you right back to that prophecy. I guess that's God's way of reminding you that you didn't do this by yourself now.
There was another one that's pretty funny. He told me to travel light. I'm like, we going from Amsterdam to London? How am I going to travel light? I laid in that bed and said, oh, he must have meant leave this weed home.
So that word meant not just only travel light, okay, let me not take a lot of clothes, but it meant something else totally different from those that was hearing. And this is another thing which is so powerful with the prophetic. The prophetic is not there to embarrass you. Because I believe that God in his all-knowingness, he could have said, listen, do not take any weed, do not take any drugs. I mean, this is in the church, out open, but God, in his infinite wisdom, began to share and tell the prophet, tell Ron not to travel heavy, but to travel light. And he alone understood that prophetic word, and it saved him.
And I beat for sure. Them dogs was all around everybody's bags. And because I traveled light, I ain't go to jail across seas. That weed was home.
Isn't it interesting that the prophet did not say, don't do drugs? He just said, don't take the drugs with you over there in the plane. Now, the reality is that prophecy is coded, and many times prophecies are coded. This is why I say to people all the time, it takes patient listening.
So I decided to bring my brother with me. And I didn't talk about Zoe too much because it was very different. Like I said, I was raised in the Catholic Church. You go, you put your $20 in, stay your 45 minutes and then you go. So I said to him, why don't you come to church with me? Now, at the time, his girlfriend was pregnant. I wasn't supposed to know. My mother had told me. So we came up to the altar. I brought him up because I wanted him to get a word, and I wanted to expose him because it had blessed me so much. Bishop said, do you have a daughter? Are you having a child? He said no. Sweat immediately pouring down his head. Okay, now I knew he had a child. He said, well, I'm seeing a child, and the child is gonna come to the family, it's gonna bring the family together. He said no, he didn't know. So then he gave us additional prophecy saying, you're in education, you're gonna be a teacher leader. So he's listening, I'm listening, and I'm almost laughing because I know what Bishop's talking about. So then he says one more time, are you sure? Are you sure? He said, no, Master Prophet. So then we got in the car, we were driving. We're driving home, and he admits to me that he's gonna have a child. And Master Prophet was right in what he was saying. So that was one of the funnier prophecies, but I'll tell you, coming into a church with someone who has never been there, who Master Prophet has never met, for him to give a prophecy so accurate, you know, it was amazing and just reinforces everything I believed from when I started coming.
We were in service. And toward the end of the service, the Master Prophet, as he would, began to hear from God. And he began to just speak things that we didn't necessarily understand.
It was a long service that night. Really, I don't even think he was in the room with us. And he kept pacing back and forth across the stage.
During that time, I would go out in the spirit, and I could end up prophesying for 10 minutes or an hour.
I think he had been ministering to everybody one-on-one. He'd been ministering to people all night. By that time, quite frankly, I was sleepy. I had been there since maybe 6 o'clock in the morning. And I was ready to go home, and I was really, really tired. And, you know, at 1:20, we're saying, oh, God, please, can we go home? Please make him stop, please, God. And all of a sudden, we heard Bishop begin to prophesy, and he said, 911, just like that.
We had heard the prophetic word of 911, but we never connected the dots, you know.
And we started giggling between us because we're like, yes, God, we need help. This is an emergency, 911, we need help. We're just joking.
And that prophetic word, 911, was very specific. So we're asking ourselves, is it 911? Or time, if it's 911, maybe what year is it connected to?
And he just kept saying it over and over. Now, we all know, 911 is an emergency. And so, we were trying to wait and hear the rest of the word, but nothing else came. It was just 911, and he didn't rush through it. He just spoke it and continued to speak 911. And so, people around, looking at one another, trying to, what is 911? What is he saying?
And then he got quiet and he stopped. And he said, well, you'll all find out what that means. 9/11 happened. That was the following Tuesday.
This just in, you were looking at obviously a very disturbing live shot.
We understand that a plane has crashed into the World Trade Center.
Oh my God, another plane has just hit another building.
Oh my God.
See, the prophet is just a vessel. I don't get to be the interpreter, the translator. Sometimes I only get a chance to question it. I just say what I hear.
One of the things I've learned about Master Prophet, the Arch, America's black prophet of God, is he likes to talk, and he likes to take his time. So it takes patient listening, because he's going to go on, and he's going to go on, and he's going to go on. But everything that he's saying is pertinent information. So it's good to just carry a recorder and then play it over and over, because your patience might run out listening to him go on and on and on, over and over and over and over again.
I had wrote a prophetic word to a woman about a month prior or so. And her name was Candace.
There was a young lady, Candace Young. She was a friend of my daughter's. She grew up in Philadelphia, and she moved to New York City, and she began to come here for service. She worked at that time at the Waldorf, And she had sowed a seed.
In her prophetic word, when she sowed her seed, her word came to her that she should do no business on 9/11.
Well, what had happened is she had a already set up appointment to do some business on one of the towers on September 11th.
But that wasn't all. The business that she had to do was in Tower 1 that fell first.
She obeyed the written prophecy and says, I'm not going. Why? The prophet told me. So she canceled her 9 a.m. meeting, went to work at the Waldorf Astoria, standing on the roof of the Waldorf Astoria Hotel looking, saying, that's the building I'm supposed to be in. She would have been getting off the elevator about the time that plane hit the building.
We didn't realize until we got home, turning on the news, and this is what they was telling us, 911. And then Candace said, Bishop, you told me not to do business on 9/11. This was the day. This was the day that I was supposed to be there that early morning for my appointment.
And so when she got that prophetic word, she heeded the word and canceled her business appointment that she was supposed to have on 9/11, 9/11, and did not show up. And so when she sees the news at about 8:48, whatever the time that first building fell, she knew that that was the word of God, the Lord, because she was supposed to be in that building. Yet the word of the Lord came and told her, do no business on 9/11. You know what? And the word of the Lord is real.
Her obeying the word that she received literally saved her life, because it would have been around that time of when the planes hit the towers. And so for her, it was life-saving because she actually obeyed the word that she received.
What if she had not obeyed the prophetic word and took her hand up there to that tower? Now, that would have been a whole mess. Well, let's take it a little bit farther. What if she did not sow the seed so that the root word of seed, see, so that the seer could see for her seed? The girl would have been in a whole mess. You better find you a seed and put it in the hands of a seer so you can find out what in the whole hell in the heaven is going on and about to happen in your life.
There's always been seers. I think a culture cannot survive without a seer. They cannot survive without a set of eyes. I think if you look at the film industry, let's look at that for a moment. There are people that see things that other people don't see and carry certain images and stories that other people don't see and carry. I think anybody that's in art can have the potential of a seer. I believe they can be musical prophets. They begin to reimagine a world that did not exist. Whether it was James Brown, we personally know that he had a seer that, kind of guided and spoken into his life. People that began to see a way, navigating a path. I think anyone that becomes a leader, when we begin to look at the former president, Ronald Reagan, he had astrologers that were in and out of the White House that was mapping things out. Even it's been documented that Joan Quimbley, who was the Reagan's personal astrologer, that when he got ready to be sworn in as governor, they did it at 12 midnight and they began to ask why. Well, during that time, Jupiter was rising. And when Jupiter is rising, kings are born. Anybody without a seer or prophet is running around in the dark without a flashlight. There's dangers that can begin to take place. But to have a seer is to have an advantage. And as I would always say to people, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king.
I was watching The Master Prophet on television and for some time, and then I kind of wondered, because it seemed to be real. I felt the anointing of God, but I wanted to check it out. At that time, he was given a free prophetic word, and he was going to send the CD and all of this. I said, oh. So I called in because I'm on national television. In fact, we were both on BET at the time. I didn't use my name. I used a fictitious name. And on television, I always used Houston, Texas. When I called in, I actually used my real address so I could make sure I got the CD. I got that CD, and I'm sitting in the car. I put it in, and I'm listening to this man prophesy to me. He says, I see you going to the mailbox. I see God blessing you through the mail, and you're helping the people through the mail. That's exactly what I was doing in ministry. I just screamed. I said, I'm done. This man is, he gonna prophesy to me and get it right and that accurate and do it. I was done. The fictitious name, who does that? Some prophets have to look you eyeball to eyeball and look you up and down and size you up in order for them to prophesy to him. And never seen me, didn't know who I was, but yet he was able to give me a word. In fact, that's what we were already doing. And then, of course, it got to be even greater because that's what the master prophet said, that it was going to even be greater than what it was at that time.
A lot of people are skeptical when it comes to the prophetic, especially the way that the master prophet does it. Give me your name, and then I prophesy to you. So I understand giving him a fictitious name. But the thing is this is not a looking at your letters of your name, and there's an art to that, and that is prophetic. But he literally listens to what God says and repeats what God says. And if God said it, then it is always so.
I think a prophet is one that can read the times that they're in and the era that they are functioning in and where God wants people to be in that time period. And sometimes a prophet can give individual messages or collective messages, but God gives certain people certain insight at certain time toward guiding in the flow of where God wants us at the time in history that he's put us on earth for.
A prophet of God is a man or a woman that God has given them the ability to be able to see into the future and be able to forecast and tell people and give them directions and answers for their life.
The prophet comes to comfort the uncomfortable and to make the uncomfortable comforted.
Prophets see and they point the way. Now, they may use literature, film, media, music in order to point to what is in the heart of God or what the heart of the matter is. It is extremely important that we support people that are prophets in film, prophets in media, prophets in literature, prophets that are on Broadway. It's important that we allow prophets to be extraordinary in their expression as they are pointing you to the heart of God or to the heart of the matter.
I thought it was the coolest thing I ever saw was Bishop. I mean, I knew what was going on. NWA was coming, all these groups were coming out, but I said, first of all, I was changing. I wanted to become a man. The Bible says when you're a kid, you do childish things. When you get older, you transform and you become a man. So for me, looking at Bishop, who was cool, who did all these things that were very filled with integrity, that became my new focus. And he never said, give away my possessions. It wasn't about taking a vow of poverty. So that was pretty cool too. It's like, all right, wow, prophet just picked up a Benz, Oh, snap, look at the prophet's home. Look at the way the prophet runs his life. This is cool. To me, I'm like, all right, so I'm not here to take a vow of poverty. I'm here to learn about becoming more prosperous than I was as Run DMC. And in the midst of becoming more prosperous, becoming more of a man. I mean, I'd get on every single time he'd say, stand, prophesy to lines of people. I'd get a prophecy every single time. So those prophetic words would carry me through the week, through the month, through the years. Okay, this is gonna happen. And you believe the prophet and prosper, 2 Chronicles 20:20.
In 2 Chronicles chapter 20, verse 20, it says, believe in the Lord your God, so shall you be established. But then it says something else. Believe his prophets, so shall you prosper. Because when you believe the prophet, the prophet is going to show you the most prosperous future of the door you can walk through. This is almost like process theology or process philosophy, that the future is always unfolding, but it's coming through multiple doors. You can either take the scenic route or you can take the direct route. Most people choose the scenic route. The prophet, again, shows you. You can either choose this or choose that. The children of Israel coming out of Egypt could have made it to the promised land in 40 days, but they've made it in 40 years. The question is, are you willing to do the work it will take for 40 days? Or are you going to take the 40-year package? We always get a package. Choose one.
Since this question was raised about 2 Chronicles, I've heard it a lot, even over the years, with the master prophet. I think some people shun it because they think it's a manipulative tool in the hands of the immature, perhaps in the hands of those gifted prophetically, but not sanctified for their office, perhaps. He's being liberated with this. It deals with Israel going into battle. And it is important to know that Israel as a people, when they had kings and governors and princes and all of this, that the prophets were assigned to kings. They were assigned to governors. They were assigned politically. That's part of that righteousness and justice to keep the nation centered. You got to see this Africanly. The musicians are gathered together, the priests are gathered, and the prophet is there with the leader. And as they begin to call for that prophetic word, here's what comes forth. Believe in the Lord. When you look at believe in its Hebrew origin, or as close to it as we can, it means to undergird. It means to support. It's kind of like a coming together. You see the whole tribal collective nature of it. It's a reciprocity there. I just saw it. If you would not just believe in terms of what I hear, and okay, I have faith. We know what you believe by the way you behave. So if you believe in the prophet, you're going to support that prophetic voice. You're going to support, you're going to undergird, you're going to surround, you're going to accept. And when they talk about, being established, it's the same Hebrew word. So if you support, undergird, embrace the prophet, so shall you be supported, undergirded, embraced. Okay? If you listen and adhere, you'll be established. That word established means to break out, to be pushed forward, almost like literally catapulted or shot into another realm, shot into another dimension. And so prophetically, this is what is supposed to happen. It's not supposed to be, okay, I tell you a word, you believe God, and okay. No. This is a whole community. This is about a national victory. And so the prophet is tied to regional victories, familial victories, generational victories, national victories, international victories. And so there's a reciprocity there. There's a law there that if you would embrace and support and give to, then God will support and raise and give to you. And in that reciprocity, so shall we as a people, individually and collectively, be pushed forward, break out, upgraded, reset, reestablished.
You and I cannot reach the peak of our prosperity or the peak of our performance without a prophet. There is no other biblical leader that prosperity is attached to. If you are a political leader, if you're an entertainer, any creative, any role of leadership, you need a prophet so that you can be at the peak of your performance and reach the peak of your prosperity.
If I don't know how to do nothing else, I do know how to pray. But the Lord also uses me in the prophetic and television, radio, as well as I'm pastoring a church in Opelousas, Louisiana. The main television network that was the most successful for us was BET. And I attracted more sinners or non-Christians. I think there's a better way to say it than calling them sinners, because I don't know. But I came on right after Uncut, so I attracted that audience that was just coming in from the nightclubs, the rappers. I remember one time I met Young Jock, and he's cutting back and forth. Pastor Curtin, I can't believe it's Pastor Curtin. He said, we watch you every time you come on. We, in the studios all throughout the night. That's why I found out rappers don't sleep at night. They sleep during the daytime. He said, so anytime you come on, we shut everything down and we watch you. And every time you holler, God! He said, it just got excited. He said, will you say God for me the way you said? I have so many people try to imitate. I don't even know where that came from. I don't know how it started. And then after it started, I had so many preachers who say, you could be successful. You can have a great ministry if you just stop all that hollering God. But if people don't know my name, one thing they know that scream. I like to call it more of a holler. And it's an anointed holler.
I love that Kearney Thomas was doing something to get people to wake up that ended up being his signature. We all know him as a result of all that screaming, but he calls it the holy holler. In the church, we do and say things that outside of that box is very entertaining. And it can be the thing that God uses through you to get people to listen to you.
God! And they say how many people say, you woke me up, I was fast asleep. And then people have nerve. Why are you howling? It's in the middle of the night. I gotta wake you up. I can't come on whispering. That's normally my reply. But that holler was anointed, because how you holler and scream, or whatever you want to call it, louder than the volume on somebody's television set. So the volume is set at one level, but the holler comes in even louder than that and able to wake them up. That's God, that's supernatural. So a lot of the rappers rapped about me. J. Cole put me in one of his albums that went platinum. Drake rapped about me. We had TV host Jimmy Kimmel almost talked about me at least once or twice every single week. Here's an interview with Reverend Jesse Jackson. He asked Reverend Jackson, do you know Pastor Kearney Thomas? And he gave that blank look and said, no, I don't know him, because he probably didn't know how to answer that. He said, well, you need to get to know him. He's the best preacher. So I wonder how that made Jesse feel.
I'm going to tell you what my pastor, Bishop Williams, taught me. He taught me you can't do no more ministry than you got money. And the more money that you have, the broader your scope of influence will be. You have money, you can do great things in ministry.
The Bible says, a poor man's word is not heard. Anyone in the Bible that word is heard, they are wealthy. Anyone in media that word is heard is wealthy. People are running shock about the people that led Black Lives Matter like they were supposed to be permanently poor. No, we hear their words every day. Their words print money. They are wealthy. When you have the ears of tens of thousands, millions of people, you are wealthy.
We were called the Money Church. There were BMWs, Mercedes-Benz, there was Rolls-Royce, there were trucks, people were wearing fur coats and diamonds and suits and gaiters, $1,000 shoes. And yeah, this is the Money Church. And we do talk about money. And the thing is that the people that don't talk about money, they probably don't have any and they probably won't get any. You know, conversations about wealth that we didn't have at our dining room or kitchen tables, conversations that were not spoken in our individual households were spoken here at the ministry, and that's where the spark happened. That's where we got the ideas that we could do so much more with the life that we have, that it was literally possible, it was tangible. You could reach out and touch it.
I don't know where this whole concept of money being a problem in the African American community came from. It sounds like it comes from our oppressor that came to Africa and gave you a Bible while they were stealing your gold. And has anybody ever asked the question, how did their gold get under your land? That's the power of the oppressor. They always want you to buy into heaven, but don't buy into the gold that heaven is giving you now.
Now, this is the reason why that they killed Bishop Jordan in the media. Because in the spirit of his mentor, Reverend Ike, he began to teach Black people about money, which meant that he was bringing liberation. People began to see how those around Bishop Jordan, under his teaching, that they began to get houses, land, revenue, wealth, cars, and things, real and personal property. And now there is an issue. Let me tell you something. When Black folk start getting money and they start coming up above the scratch line, white folk get bothered. And that was the thing that caused them to kill this Black man. Say he a witch. Say that he after your money, whatever. So folk will stop listening to the liberator.
The money. Show me the money. Let me preface the prosperity or the financial side of ministry with this. I did not go into the ministry to get rich. I got rich doing ministry. It was far beyond me. I never saw the wealth. I never saw the money coming. But because I did real ministry, and I have preachers ask me, did you go into ministry to get rich? Or did you get rich? I got rich just purely doing ministry. And when I think about somebody like the Master Prophet, he had a heart for the people. He wanted to see the people got blessed. So the people give into that and sow into it. And today, that's a real problem that's going on with the Black preachers that are preaching prosperity. How can you even be a Christian and not preach the message of prosperity? They've hidden it from us. First of all, Jesus was rich. You know, they want to say that Jesus was poor. And I had an image of Jesus for years of this white boy, straggly beard, straggly long hair, old dirty looking robe, walking down the street with some old flip-flops on or something. That was my image because that's the picture that they showed us. But when you begin to look at Christ, when he was on, he didn't hang out with poor people. He hung out with the rich. Zacchaeus, come on down the tree. I'm going to your house for dinner. Mary, Martha, and Lazarus, they were rich people, had big houses. All of his disciples that he called to walk with him, they were all successful men. And then we had a conversation just the other night about which one of the disciples were poor, and everybody jumped on Peter. Peter was poor. Well, he owned his own ship, so he couldn't have been too poor. He not only owned his own ship. If you look at the 4th chapter, book of Luke, before the ship experience, we know he had a house because Jesus went to Simon Peter's house. And then let's say, for argument's sake, that he was poor. He didn't stay poor long because Jesus told him to launch out in the deep, let down your net for a drought. He caught so much fish that day that his ship began to sink. So that lets us know right there that we should have blessings of God, financial blessings of God, overflowing in our life.
Jesus chose 12 men. He says it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to be saved. All 12 of his disciples got upset. It says, who then among us can be saved? Because all of the disciples of Jesus were wealthy. See, we've got to get out of our mind this Eurocentric character of Jesus as he was poor, walking on dusty roads because he couldn't afford sandals. Jesus' garments, they were casting lots for his garments because of the value of his clothing. Jesus had a treasurer that was stealing money, and yet Jesus never missed a beat by the name of Judas. And not only that, but they gave large sums of money at his resurrection to tell a lie that he had not risen from the dead. Jesus was a very, very, very wealthy person, probably more wealth than they could actually count. Money is the power of God seeking manifestation.
A wealthy Black American is what liberation from white, racist, European Christianity looks like. God is glorified when Black people are no longer praying about money.
The master prophet is extraordinaire. That would encompass all of what he is.
I got a prophecy hanging over me right this second. He gave me on my birthday that's happening right now. He wrote me on the day before my birthday recently. This is just like November 13th, as I was flying home, he's like, you know, happy birthday, Rev. Here's your yearly prophecy. And I'm like, oh, well, you know, I'm scared of Bishop. I'm like, oh, why he writing me? Like, he writes me because he loves me still, you know. Like, okay, I gotta carry this prophecy. I can't turn my, it was good. But I gotta look at it. So what he said, whether I liked it or didn't like it, which I do like it, is all happening right now.
I can say that he's been 100% accurate with me and the things that I've heard him say, both collectively, universally, and to me personally. He's never told me anything personally that didn't end up that way. And that's the power of prophecy.
Born and raised in Brooklyn on these streets. Mama said, don't you cry, you got all you need. A gift inside to set the people free. You don't have to understand in time, you see. Looking back, I reminisce about it. Never thought I'd be America's black prophet. You're giving me power to heal. I can see, I can hear you, I can feel. Vision only getting stronger when they turn the lights out. What was hard to understand, that's all I know now. Vision on the other side that surpasses all doubt. Leading from the future and beyond now. Hold on to my faith and I'll receive. You prepared a table
Friday nights was jammed. And Jordan does not wait for the first prophet or the second one or the third prophet. He gets up, he speaks in tongues. The hush falls over the entire place. That's the order of things. And nails it, hits it right on. Bam! Apostle Washington, all of them, and they said, that man, he's very, very gifted. And I said, who? Jordan? She said, yes, he's very, very gifted. But you gotta control him.
And at first I thought, oh, he's so excited too. You know, he's excited with us. But then I realized that his face was angry. And they were pacing with this anger, which I had not seen his face ever look like that. So you knew, okay, wait a minute, something's wrong.
Because they're having discussions about this 19-year-old, 20-year-old guy in the back room about what he's doing. They're nervous, they're afraid, they're scared.
And then Pastor Deborah and Archbishop got to the front, and they were very young at the time. We're just young people, not really understanding why someone, what was going on, or what was driving this.
That the one that sees may actually see them. And will he say what he see?
And so they may have asked them to go to the back door and shake hands with everybody as they left, because that would be the last time we would see them.
The pastor stood up, signaled to the security people to go and get him out of that seat and drag him out of that church. And they left his Bible in the chair, and the guy came back, got his Bible, threw his Bible up the aisle, picked the Bible up off the floor, threw it up the aisle again, picked it up the floor, and went out the door, threw the Bible out. They were that angry that they mishandled the word of God.
The pastor told him to go back to Africa.
You may be watching and you're very skeptical. I have never had someone to stand in the place of God and utter his words over my life. You need that experience today. So I want to invite you to contact Zoe Ministries that was birthed by America's Black Prophet of God, and have that experience and see what you feel. See what happens in your body, what happens in your mind when you begin to hear someone speak for God over your life. Have that experience and do it right now. Look at the QR code, look at the phone number, and contact today.